The air in our bedroom felt suffocating, thick, heavy, and sharp enough to cut through skin. Silence hung in the room like a storm waiting to break. The kind of silence that screams louder than any argument. My hand trembled around the phone I had just picked up from a nightstand. Claire's phone, unlocked, glowing faintly in the dim light, like it had something to confess. One notification blinked on the screen, small but devastating. Miss you already. Same time tomorrow. The name beneath it made my stomach drop. Mark. Her ex. My chest tightened, as if the air had been sucked out of the room. My pulse roared in my ears, and my vision blurred for a moment. I wanted to scream, to throw the phone across the room, to tear apart everything in sight. But my body wouldn't move. I just stood there, staring at that message, feeling the ground of 7 years of marriage crumble beneath my feet. The silence around me became unbearable. The hum of the refrigerator, the faint ticking of the clock, even the whisper of the wind outside, all of it felt too loud, too cruel. Her scent still lingered in the air, jasmine mixed with something bitter, something like regret. It clung to the pillow where her head had rested hours ago, mocking me. For weeks she had been distant, her smiles thin and her laughter hollow. Her touch, once warm and familiar, had become something cold and fleeting. I told myself it was work stress, exhaustion from her long hours at the firm, the dull erosion that sometimes comes with time. But deep down, I'd known something was wrong. I just hadn't wanted to see it. I sank onto the edge of the bed, my fingers numb, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. My mind began replaying the last few months in painful detail, her late nights, her sudden need for space, the way she angled her phone away from me, her hesitation when I'd reached for her hand last week. Every moment I'd brushed off now returned like ghosts, each one slicing deeper. Had I really been that blind, or just too afraid to face the truth? I thought of her laugh, the way it used to fill our tiny apartment back when we were newly married and broke, but deliriously happy. That laugh had felt like home once. Now it felt like a memory belonging to another life. I didn't confront her that night. I couldn't. My throat was tight, and my thoughts were sharp, scattered. I needed to breathe, to think, to decide what to do with the truth I couldn't yet speak aloud. The message burned in my mind, every word a brand I couldn't erase. When Claire came home later that evening, her heels clicked across the hardwood floor like small, deliberate knives. I stood in the kitchen, watching her as she tossed her keys onto the counter, her auburn hair catching the light like a halo she didn't deserve. "Long day," she muttered, not even glancing at me, her tone flat as she poured herself a glass of wine. "Anything interesting happen?" I asked, my voice calm but edged, like I was walking barefoot across shattered glass. Her eyes flicked to mine for a split second, then darted away. Just the usual. Clients, deadlines. Lies. The word hung between us, unspoken but deafening. I wanted to demand the truth right then, to shake her until the mask cracked. But something in me hesitated. Fear, maybe, or a pathetic hope that I was wrong. That there was some innocent explanation I hadn't thought of. Days dragged by, each one slower, heavier. I became a stranger in my own home, a detective piecing together a crime I already knew the answer to. I noticed everything. The faint trace of cologne on her coat that wasn't mine, the way she laughed at texts she refused to show me, the late-night calls she took in the guest room with the door closed. I hated myself for snooping, for doubting her, but I couldn't stop. Every clue led me deeper into a truth I no longer had the strength to deny. When I scrolled through her messages one night while she showered, my heart was pounding so violently I thought she might hear it. "Can't wait to see you. You make me feel alive." Each word was a blade, not just because she'd said them, but because she'd never said them to me. Not like that, not in a long time. The night I finally confronted her, the world outside echoed my turmoil. Rain hammered the windows, thunder rolling somewhere far away. Claire sat curled on the couch, scrolling through her tablet, her face bathed in its cold blue glow. I stood in the doorway, my hands clenched so tightly they ached. "Claire," I said, my voice low, steady, but shaking underneath. She looked up, her eyes narrowing, like she sensed what was coming. "Who's Mark been texting you about?" For a second, She froze just a second, but it was enough. A flicker of guilt crossed her face before she forced it away. "What are you talking about?" she asked too quickly, her voice sharp, defensive. "Don't," I said, stepping closer. "I saw the messages. Miss you already. Same time tomorrow. How long has this been going on?" She set her tablet down slowly, deliberately. "You went through my phone," she said, her tone suddenly cold, accusatory, as if I were the one who had betrayed her. The audacity of it lit something dark inside me. "Don't you dare turn this on me," I snapped. "You're sneaking around with your ex. Just tell me how long, Claire." Her lips parted, then closed again. Her eyes darted away. For a second, I thought she'd lie. But then her shoulders dropped, and her voice came out small, broken. "It's not what you think," she whispered. "It's complicated." I laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. "Complicated? You're sleeping with him, aren't you? Don't lie again." She flinched like I'd struck her. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said, tears spilling down her cheeks. "It was just, he was there and I was so lonely. And you've been so distant, Tom." "I've been distant?" My voice cracked, raw. "You're blaming me for this? I've been here, Claire, every damn day, trying to hold us together while you were out with him." Her words crumbled under the weight of mine, and soon the argument turned into chaos. Tears, anger, silence, pain. She admitted to seeing Mark for months. "It had started emotionally," she said, as if that somehow made it better. "I saw her differently after that, not as my wife, but as someone who had chosen to destroy me piece by piece rather than face her emptiness. That night, I didn't sleep. I watched the rain crawl down the windows until dawn. When morning came, I packed a bag, just enough for a few days. Clothes, toothbrush, my dignity." Claire stood in the doorway, her eyes red and swollen. "Don't do this, Tom," she pleaded. "We can fix it. I love you." I paused at the door. "You don't get to say that," I said quietly. "Not anymore." Then I left. The sound of the door closing behind me was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. Days later, I found myself in a cheap motel with flickering neon lights and cigarette-stained curtains. My phone buzzed nonstop, mostly from Jen, Claire's sister. Her voicemails grew more desperate with each one. "Tom, she's a mess," she said in the last message, her voice trembling. "She hasn't eaten, hasn't slept. Please, you've made your point. Just come home.